Hey, welcome back. We're going to continue on our workshop this month of the Watercolor Stars, or Watercolor Nightscape. And this week we're going to be adding trees to that nightscape. So all you're going to need is a Sharpie marker pretty much, and then you're going to need a little practice, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So get your paper out and let's have some fun. I've got two pens I'm going to use. One is just a Sharpie marker, and the other is a Faber-Castell Pitt brush pen. I'm going to show you how to use them both. Using them both, the Sharpie can be problematic because sometimes it's hard to get a good tip, but I wanted to show you just how to practice this. And doing these trees, I'm pretty much doing evergreen trees or pine trees, whatever, but the shape is really simple. It's pretty much just a triangular shape. I'm just starting at the top and working those branches out a little wider as I go down. And that's really pretty much all there is to it. I would suggest before you try this on your watercolor that you do what I'm doing here and just take a piece of paper, doesn't even have to be watercolor paper necessarily, and get your Sharpie marker out and just practice drawing these. Now here's the brush pen, and I'll just show you for comparison purposes. It really is going to give me almost the same effect that the Sharpie does, so you don't need to spend a lot of money on fancy stuff if you don't want to. This works very well, and the main thing that you do want is you want to use something that is permanent as opposed to I don't like to use watercolor for these trees because they tend to not show up as well, and the markers just tend to come out better. So there's just some basic trees. So let's take that and apply it in our actual painting. Now, one of the keys here to making this look good is variety. Don't make the trees all the same height. Now, I've actually seen some where the artist has made the tree height, but it's a very stylistic approach, or a stylized approach, and it does look quite nice. But for kind of a quasi-realistic effect, add some variety. Use here, see I'm doing some very, and those are actually intended to be more in the distance, not so much small trees. But I'm just trying to maintain variety in the size of the trees, the positioning. Don't space them all equally. Get them different, again, different sizes, different positions, and make it interesting. For paintings like this, landscape paintings, things like this, you don't want symmetry. You want to get some get different sizes, and you could even put different kinds of trees in. I'm mostly doing these evergreens because they're probably the easiest to do with a marker like this. But practice on some paper and just draw in whatever feels good. Don't try to match what I'm doing here, but give yourself a good representation of trees on both sides. And as you do that, then you're going to have a nice composition. In this particular picture, the stars are, I guess, our main focal point, but we want to make sure that the other elements of the picture or the painting also contribute. So take some time thinking this through. You might actually take a little time to plan it out. I'm just winging it here, but there's a lot to be said for taking the time to perhaps on another piece of paper, just mark off the diamond and first and give you what to do. And you might even do that in kind of a soft pencil rather than a Sharpie marker, just to give yourself an idea of what your composition is going to be. And now you notice I've got that gap at the bottom, and that I'm going to just go back to the old Sharpie marker. I've been using my brush pen, and I'm going to fill that in. And that's going to give us a nice dark front to contrast with our stars that we're going to put in. And we're going to do the stars next week for our last lesson in Watercolor Starscape. And so I hope you will practice this, have some fun with it, and then I'll see you next week, and we'll finish this painting up.